Previously on the MidFlight Crisis.
You can travel through time?
And space. Yes, I told you. Everything you need to know is in that pamphlet.
Another serendibite. We've got to get back to the ship and see if there's anything on it.
Way ahead of you. I've reconfigured the ship's serendibite interface using all that spare time, and I've come up with a portable reader. If you microwave a grape, you get plasma.
We joined their secret squadron program, so I believe we can open up these messages, right? Ready to hit hyperspeed and head to this meeting?
Warm welcome to our valued team members. We're so glad to see all of your smiling faces. We at Cryo Corp couldn't ask for a better work family.
This isn't good.
She's never this happy.
Families stick together through difficult times, but sometimes family members need time apart.
She's firing us.
We're going in a new and exciting direction with this company.
She's firing everyone. Well, probably not Jim in accounting.
Can we claim diplomatic immunity?
We barely have natural immunity.
Oh, you're right. We've already used up all of our sick days.
And I want us all to be supportive. No need for alarm. We're understaffed and overfunded. Wait, just getting an update. It's actually the reverse. We've come across a significant reduction in torpor-related traffic as of recently. Several teams have gone missing, which is unfortunate. We expect next of kin to promptly return all rented equipment and apparel as it is company property.
They knew about the missing teams and they still cleared us to board that ship?
They probably assumed we'd pick up and return their stuff to the company.
A multi-system corporation should never put its employees in a compromising situation.
You may be aware of a computer virus currently affecting the AIs of several serviceable ships. Some of you have responded to calls from these AIs, and we sincerely apologize for putting you in a potentially compromising situation.
Maybe we'll get some compensation for our efforts.
We find it belittling to put a price on your safety, so there will be no compensation from the company.
You know, they said the same thing about the Tangolin incident.
They did specifically point out that aggression-prone botanicals were not covered for reimbursement.
Our long-term outlook is optimistic. Your Cryo Corp coins will still be redeemable at all our kiosks as well as the central company store. However, it has been significantly devalued due to market fluctuations.
I didn't know we had our own cryptocurrency. Well, that sounds awfully risky. I'm glad we didn't fall victim to those get-rich-quick schemes from the company.
Yeah. All of our money was reinvested into Cryo Corp coins.
Wait, what? I thought our emergency funds were in the Cosmic Credit Union.
They were, and most of the bonus from the last job. We weren't earning much of a return on that money, and space timeshares aren't cheap. I didn't know cryptocurrency was risky.
I'm sure many of you have questions.
Well, at least we'll be able to ask.
We will not be answering any questions at this time.
I love this company.
We will award work assignments to our team members based on his or her investment with the company.
Yep, we're out of a job.
Those of you who are currently in possession of our coins are first on the list. First assignment will be awarded to Charles Asmuth and Matthew Avner.
Pardon me, that's pronounced Aonair.
You gotta be kidding me. You're the largest shareholder in the company?
I believe in this institution. You shouldn't be surprised. You should be thankful.
We must honor these brave individuals as this assignment carries great peril.
I don't want to volunteer as tribute. Excuse me. Can we take another assignment?
The company values your personal sacrifice, and you will be well compensated for your efforts.
I doubt that.
Your job is to locate the passenger ship Escapade and wake up the captain, just in case.
Just in case of what?
Of the Escapade. You will also need to wake up the primary systems engineer, Sue Port. She'll be pretty helpful, too. We will send you the specifics shortly. All right, folks. Let's keep going down that list.
After 2 hours of listening to the company read from a list that could have been sent out via light mail, our brave heroes depart for their next great adventure. Now, with space blankets.
They handed out these blankets on our way out of the building.
Whoa, this blanket is awfully heavy.
It's a weighted blanket.
What's it made out of? Sprinkles of neutron stars?
They said it's supposed to be comforting.
But we're not entitled to extended healthcare coverage.
We got this blanket instead. Jim got extended healthcare coverage.
Jim bets with Felgrady vampires whether the holiday office party cake would be round or square. Loses that bet, and we all have to transfuse our own blood to pay the debt. And he still gets healthcare.
And we all thought we were donating blood for charity. Wait, I don't remember cake at that party.
Of course there wasn't cake. The vampires made sure that only cakeless baked goods arrived. I still remember those fangs taunting me. Still can't believe he claims diplomatic immunity.
They did a blood test. Jim's half vampire. You can't fire someone based on a blood-borne disease anymore. He got protection under the Corporate Vampire Act of 2526. Although they probably shouldn't have had him in charge of the blood bank.
Yeah, that was an oversight by the company. Do we have any funds to get us to the escapade?
Some loose change I found under the console. Some money from the last job, minus repairs and maintenance, especially that ion converter.
And several thousand shares of near-worthless cryptocurrency.
That leaves us with a few hundred credits. Again. At least we have the blanket. Think we could resell it?
I doubt it. Who's going to want a weighted blanket in zero gravity?
It still has its tag on it. Maybe we can return it. What does the tag say?
It says scruff stuff, antiques and oddities. Wait a minute. I remember from an old company memo, this antique store takes Cryo Corp coins. They may have old Earth artifacts that we could flip for a little profit.
That's great news.
Although, we need someone who's credentialed as an old Earth antiquities dealer. We don't know anybody.
It is incredibly convenient that I am also an old Earth antiquities dealer.
When did you have time for that?
When you really wanted that salt lamp, I took an online class and got my license. Where did you think a Himalayan salt lamp came from?
You did that? For me?
It's something you wanted. We're more than randomly generated working assignments from a highly advanced algorithmic processor. We're friends.
I'm not crying. I just got a little space dust in my eye, okay?
Probably from the blanket. They said they've kept them tucked away in a storage closet for a while now. I'd definitely shake that thing out just to get the rest of the dust out.
Something just fell out of that weighted blanket.
Well, this is convenient timing. It's another serendibite. Let's have a look.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Someone once said that the world stands aside to make way for the man who knows where he's going. And so tonight it gives me great pleasure to make way for a man who knows what he's talking about.
And that's why horseradish is more horse than radish.
I don't think you know what you're talking about. And we're back! Broadcasting from the pale blue dot we call Earth, we've got a great show for you today.
We certainly do. Today we cover the economic crisis, following finances throughout history from the Byzantine to Bitcoin.
That's right, Charlie. And P.T. Barnum, the guy who was partnered with...
The greatest show on Earth.
That's the guy. Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank. What's his name? Not Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie's the English
Bailey?
House. Hugh Bailey? That's not it either. He was the cash cab guy.
P.T. Barnum and Bailey.
No. What's the guy? Wolverine. The guy that plays Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman!
Yeah.
Not Hugh Bailey. I was way off. Okay.
I could go for a bottle of Bailey's right now.
Okay. Hugh Jackman, who played P.T. Barnum
Yes.
in The Greatest Showman,
Mm-hmm.
the actual person, P.T. Barnum, he said, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. Made a very good point. Now, economists define money as anything commonly accepted by people for the exchange of goods and services. So anything you can think of that has been exchanged over time could be considered money. And the interesting thing is money has no value by itself, as we think of it today, but we'll talk about that.
Get out of town. Money has value.
Well, because we assign it value. But if you take a dollar bill, what can you do with a dollar? You can't even burn the darn things.
Well, you shouldn't.
Did you know that? Did you know?
Yeah, it's a federal crime, isn't it?
Well, there's that. You could go to jail. But if the government shut down, money is made out of linen. It's like a cotton-like material. It just kind of smolders. Doesn't really even burn.
Linens and things,
Yeah.
like the store. Yeah. Speaking of things, Albert Einstein once said, "Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted." Alliteration aside, not everything that could be money should be money, right?
Well, I mean, I like money. So if it can be money, why not? Make it
Exactly.
money?
So money has been around for a long time as far as a demarcation of something that's worth something to somebody, right? Coins arose in Lydia near Turkey in 600 BC. They are first made from a local alloy of gold and silver called electrum. It's a great name, by the way. And then minted into pure silver or gold.
So the first coins were actually pretty soft if they were pure silver or pure gold. Those are soft metals.
Back in ancient times, on a Tuesday, by the way, Tuesday is ancient times.
Only on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesdays. People used to bite down into coins to figure out if they were actually made out of pure gold or not, because gold was soft enough that you could bite into it. Fun fact.
Huh.
Yeah.
So if you get an ancient gold coin, there might be a tooth impression.
There could be.
Dental records, forensic science.
Mm-hmm. Now, paper money can be traced back as old as 750 BC, all the way back to China. China used to trade with paper money.
So the paper bills were in existence before the coins were.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It was easier to carry around paper money because it was a lot more lightweight than heavier metals. And when they were traversing long distances, especially in ancient China, where trading routes, spice routes particularly, are pretty hazardous in order to traffic. You go up and down mountain slopes, you're going to cross rivers and valleys. It's really hard to carry all that money around with you, and it's also very dangerous, too, to have that weighing you down along your journey.
What if the paper money gets wet, though?
God help us.
Waterproof wallets back in China.
Well, Australia has waterproof money now.
Do they really?
They really do.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it was like a credit card, or like the bill is
well,
waterproof?
they wanted to make sure that people were able to use their money, like
at the beach,
at the beach, or like any kind of a coastal area where like they knew the money was going to get wet otherwise. So they ended up waterproofing all of their currency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the blue ring octopus, watch out.
Mm-hmm.
That little, I hate blue ring. I love the octopus, but I hate blue ring octopus. Anyway,
it's dangerous. Yeah, super dangerous. And actually, some societies didn't even use money at all, such as the Incan Empire.
What?
Yeah, they just had ancient IOUs. Mm-hmm.
Let's write this down. Now, speaking of IOUs, in Europe, they use something called a tally stick, which most people have probably heard of this. But it's a wooden stick, had a unique grain, and it was shaped and marked in such a way that you knew that this stick that was cut and split between the debtor and the lender, that stick was the two pieces of the stick came together so that you knew the debt would be paid off, right? And a funny thing happened with tally sticks. After they piled up and they quit using them, they decided to burn them, but they caused a fire that was it was the biggest fire since the Great Fire of 1666.
That was a pretty great fire.
Yeah.
And by great, we mean it was pretty awful.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, most of the houses then were made out of wood.
Well, yeah. So, and burnable like thatch and stuff and tar and pitch. So, straw. Things that burn very, very easily. Now, another idea besides this idea of like credit and debt was barter. Really more of an idea than a practice. It's very coincidental for you to have a cow that I need and for me to be a blacksmith that has horseshoes that you need right now.
But my cow is currently on loan right now.
Oh, see, that's the problem. What if I need a cow right now and I have horseshoes and you have a horse that needs shoeing? And then we're just at a crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
So bartering is really more of an idea that historians came up with. They thought it was something that actually happened, but probably in actuality did not.
So that would be like the benefits of money. So that would essentially be like a medium for exchange, right?
Right, exactly. That's what started the idea of this currency, whatever, a coin, bill, whatever, has value. So let's trade that instead of, you don't have your cow yet, but you need my horseshoe, so you're going to give me money. And then later, when you have your cow back, I'll give you money for the cow.
So I'm putting horseshoes on the cow.
Exactly.
Or am I putting cow shoes on the horse?
I think we put dollar bills on both.
And then ... profit.
Yes.
Yes. Gift economies were very common back then. It's the possible start of the I owe you one. This could also have led to social status where the one who gives the most was the most wealthy and also the one who was owed the most. So this dovetails into the credit system that we have today.
So I have all of this stuff. I'm going to give it away, but I'm going to remember that I gave it all away. So you still owe me, even though I have all of this stuff. And
Exactly.
I'm going to continue to get more stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it's a constantly recurring cycle in which the wealthy get wealthier and then the poor stay poor.
I'm not sure, but this may still be going on. What do you think?
It might still be relevant. I don't know.
Probably not. We're conspiracy.
We don't make enough money on this podcast anyways. So commodity money began showing up around this time and is currency that has use other than simply being money. Modern-day dollar bills are an example of a placeholder for exchange of goods and services, and therefore they wouldn't necessarily be an example of commodity money. So what would you say would be an example of commodity money?
Well, I guess like shells or beads, something that could be jewelry, or like silver and gold that could be jewelry, or a Rolex watch that has a function other than just having value.
Yeah. So Mesopotamians developed the shekel, which was like sort of a coin, but the weight was represented by a certain amount of barley. So that would be an example of a commodity money.
So they actually used shekels to compare the weights of things, like on a scale?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that's
so like,
interesting.
If you weigh yourself on a scale, like I'm about 150 shekels today. Got to check some of those.
You know your value in shekels. So actually, ancient Egypt, they also used gold bars as a medium of exchange. Now, that technically wasn't representative because the value wound up being the same as the weight.
So was ancient Egypt on the gold standard?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. It was like a transitionary thing between commodity money and, what's our money called? Fiat money.
Yeah.
Right. Has no inherent value. So they were kind of a transition because it was commodity, but it also was fiat because they put value in the gold itself. So I would say the Egyptians are very forward thinking.
You know, they also mummified their royalty, and then they forced everyone in the royal court that was associated with them to be buried along with them, whether they were alive or not.
They buried people alive?
Yeah.
All right, maybe they're not so forward thinking. But now, Mesopotamia was very forward thinking. Back in 3000 BC, they had possibly the first modern money system that was similar to
This
our
also
current
happened
system.
on a Tuesday.
Tuesday's the day. Farmers would deposit their grain in the main temple, and they were given a record so that they could later prove they deposited this much grain. And then they used that record to purchase other items.
So that's like a debit card from ancient Mesopotamia.
On a clay tablet.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But this was also the start of the shekel.
Shekel.
It grew into the shekel.
Shekel.
And, of course, that's what economists agree pretty much was the first coin, probably.
Well, the need for currency, as we think of it, would arise from exchanging of goods between countries. So if you had all of your currency tied up in one economic structure in your own country, that would work well for you, but it wouldn't necessarily work well for your neighbor.
Kind of back to that bartering idea, right? This country makes, like in America, we grow a lot of corn and apparently a lot of wolf urine.
Wolf urine?
Yeah, we export that to Japan. They use it to scare wolves away from their highways.
Oh, so it avoids traffic collisions on roads.
Right.
That almost sounds like a real thing.
You should Google it before we put this in the episode.
Well, do you know what wolf urine, pandas, and rock lobsters have in common?
I think this is going to be a good story. I'm ready.
They are all bizarre exports.
Ah, yes.
From one country to another. One country specifically wants this as a product. Now, I can understand rock lobsters and pandas. Pandas are delicious, and rock lobsters are cute. Wait, reverse that.
Are you sure?
But wolf urine seems very niche.
Well, the thing is, though, how do you determine how many pandas are worth a quart of wolf urine?
I mean, you'd have to have some sort of medium of exchange.
Brilliant.
So management of all these pandas and rock lobsters and wolf urine and whatever unmarked warehouse somewhere in the middle of the United States needed a written form of accounting. And bingo, now we have the written word and therefore written history.
Yeah, it's amazing. The written word was from money. And that's why we started writing everything down. And that's why we have an account of historical events. One historical event would be in 1760 BC, the Code of Hammurabi was written. Probably the best preserved and oldest legal code.
Was that eye for an eye thing?
Kind of. This was like a legal accounting, or not legal accounting, but a monetary accounting. And it was all designed around money, from how much interest you could allow on a loan and how much fee you could charge on a late payment.
On the next episode of Law & Order SVU, and by SVU, I mean Sumerian Victims Unit.
Hammurabi was Babylonian.
I didn't go to space camp.
Good thing. So now, as we talked about, coins arose in the 7th century BC, and they appeared separately as we were talking about these countries trying to intermingle and decide how to trade fairly.
Having little coin parties.
Right, yeah. That happened in China, in India, and then cities near the Aegean Sea. Now, the coins are a little bit different depending on the area in which they were designed. China cast bronze with holes, which was very convenient because you could string them together like pearls. India punched out metal discs, and the Aegean cities stamped coins. Do you know how you stamp a coin?
I don't even know how they made cheese back then.
On the next episode of the MidFlight Crisis.
It's gonna be Gouda.
Oh, dear God. Okay.
We're gonna be provolone.
Oh, all right. Back to the episode. So that's how they made different coins, and depending on the area in which the money arose.
So you might be familiar with King Phaedon, ruler of Argos.
I read his autobiography. It was I couldn't put it down.
Stunning. Mm-hmm. He may have been the first person to set the standards of weight and measurement for money, and he introduced ideas of the value of silver coins in his realm.
Silver is one of my favorite metals, so I think I would have gotten along with this guy. I get him.
Nice. So the oldest known stamp coin from this area is actually in a museum in Paris right now called the Bibliothèque Nationale.
You sure you said that right?
I did not. But silver was an important part of the catalyst of any kind of empire, along with bronze coins, and advanced many ancient civilizations, one of which would be Athens.
Sparta!
Well, I mean, that other city-state, yes.
This is Sparta.
This is a podcast, Matt.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. So Athens was a much larger empire, in part from Sparta, at least to their mines of silver used in coin making.
Right, so they had plenty of silver to make plenty of coins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of silver and precious metals, let's add a bit of chemistry and science to this, shall we? How do you determine if your coin is real? You've heard of pyrite, right? Fool's gold, another name for that. How do you check that it's actually gold or actually silver?
Do you have to put some sort of chemical on it?
Kind of. You use another metal. It's called assay. Assay.
What did you just say?
There are kids listening. No, an assay is a...
If you have children in the room, now would be a good time for them to leave.
This is the TV or podcast MA warning. I don't know. But no, assaying is the chemical term for analyzing metals. So they would use these things called touchstones. They would scrape the precious metal over this grained surface.
It's a very lazy determination for an item of stones that touch. You call them touchstones.
I think, it's like a toaster. What does that thing do? It toasts. Brilliant.
Simplicity. Yeah, you're right. All right, moving on.
So they would use these touchstones. They would scrape the precious metal over the touchstone, and you would be able to determine if this was actually gold or silver or whatever metal you were looking for. And this led to governments being able to stamp a guaranteed value on the coins that they used. So eventually, governments got wise, as they tend to do, and they degraded or diluted coins with other metals to purposefully decrease the value of the coin itself, so that you would still have the fiat idea of money, that we're placing value in this money because we trust it. But anyway, the degrading of money in that fashion, as the old governments did and our government does, is called debasement.
Speaking of incredibly romantic things, in romantic languages, silver was a common metal used for money, and the word silver is synonymous with money now.
Like plata.
Yeah, or
Right.
plomo.
Lead?
Yeah. So in Colombia,
Oh, that's sad.
the terminology was plata o plomo. So either you were bribed or you were shot.
I think I hear a Narcos episode calling my name right now.
Mm-hmm. Catch it on your local streaming service. So you'll get a monthly bill for that streaming service or a receipt. And yeah, merchants prefer to use paper as receipts instead of dealing with large amounts of heavy metal coins, like copper coins, because it was within a permanent paper tender, just a temporary credit, which was reverted back to copper coins anyways.
Okay, so they would trade out the receipt they had for this large bag of heavy copper coins.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes the bags actually didn't move anywhere. They were just stored in a facility, and then they just moved the name tags from place to place.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Well, they use it now for gold. So the majority of gold in the world is only contained in a handful of locations because the security has to be at a certain level. And what they do is that they actually don't even move the gold bars. They just keep it all in the same vault, and they just move the name tags over in a digital ledger, and then that's it. It's just a trade of ones and zeros.
We're all puppets in this world of Pinocchio.
Don't let the man tie you down, man. I got no strings, man.
I'll get rid of the strings one day.
Mm-hmm. You got this. Speaking of things, rupees are linked to India and the first appearance of coins in the region. Fun fact. It became official Indian currency in the 1500s.
Wow. Now, we talked about India. Let's talk about America. We haven't gotten to our own country yet. After all, a little ethnocentricity never killed anybody.
What, on like the vast timeline of human history? I beg to differ.
All right, we'll cut that part out. But anyway, in
America.
America, the first paper money was developed in the Massachusetts Bay Colony all the way back in 1690. Now, technically, we were in America. We were the colonies of the British Empire. But that was the first emergence of American money.
Mm.
The first issued money from the state of the U.S. was called the greenback, and that was during the Civil War. Now, it wasn't redeemable for gold or silver, but it still had its own inherent value. Mm-hmm. Today, we use kind of a similar money. You can't exchange it for gold or silver. You can buy whatever you want, but it's called fiat money. It's legal tender set forth by the government, and it's enforceable.
You can buy a fiat with fiat money.
You can. I actually almost bought a Fiat Spider, the convertible.
Get out of town car.
Yeah, but then I found out the Mazda Miata was the same thing, and I couldn't live with myself.
Do you want to know some fiat facts?
Lay it on me.
Fiat facts! We're going to workshop it. So fiat has been around since 1899. That's actually the same year that gold was found in Alaska.
Oh,
yeah.
The gold rush.
Exactly. So that's what spurred on the gold rush. And they used to produce fighter aircraft. So in the 1930s, they made the CR-32, which is a biplane fighter.
They who?
Fiat.
Oh, the company Fiat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, back to fiat money. It's legal tender set forth by the government, which means it is illegal not to accept it in the country, in the United States of America. That was enacted back on March 27th of 1862. So that was the dollar. Where did the dollar sign come from? We don't really know, but we think that it may be a P for peso, which is Spanish, like in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then an S was gradually written over it for whatever reason in manuscripts. And if you put an S on top of a P, it looks like the dollar sign.
My God. You think there's a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence?
Only if Nick Cage is involved.
Only.
Only.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm in. No matter what.
Have you ever heard of Irma?
Irma, the old lady that lives down the street?
That and a hurricane, but apart from that, ERMA, also known as Irma, is an electronic recording machine for accounting. It was started by Bank of America in 1950, coincidentally the same year that the first credit cards were issued by the Diners Club. Yeah. So the Diners Club credit card was the first multi-purpose charge card, and it was made on cardboard, and it wasn't made on plastic until the 1960s. And this is the precursor for all credit cards that we use today.
So how do you swipe a cardboard card?
That is a great question, Matt. Anyway. The final ERM computer contained more than 1 million feet of wiring, 8,000 vacuum tubes, 34,000 diodes, 5 input consoles with readers, 2 magnetic memory drums, a check sorter. You're starting to realize it had a whole bunch of stuff in
This
the
was
single
a
processor.
big
This was the size of a room. It had a high-speed printer, a power control panel, some guy named Jim that was operating it.
From accounting?
Probably.
Okay.
24 racks holding 1,500 electrical packages and 500 relay packages and 12 magnetic tape drives for 2,400 feet of tape reels.
You're still going.
Yeah.
This thing was huge. That's all we need to say.
How big was it? It was 25 tons.
That's a lot. You know, a car weighs about 1 ton, an average car.
Exactly. So it's 25 cars worth of material. And then it required its own cooling system just to keep the monitors running.
This thing had its own air conditioner.
Yeah, it has its own air conditioning system.
I want my own air conditioner.
Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Now, air conditioning makes me happy. And you know what Franklin Roosevelt said? He said, happiness is not the mere possession of money. It lies in the joy of achievement, in the thrill of creative effort.
I'm sure he would appreciate a modern air conditioning.
He probably would. But he'd also probably appreciate Bitcoin and the happiness that it's brought a few people who invested early. Now, Bitcoin was released originally on January 3rd of 2009. Most people, or I think most people, don't really understand Bitcoin, and I don't fully understand Bitcoin, but it was this entity of money that was released under the pseudonym or an anonymous name or whatever you want to call it, Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, in the previous year, whoever this Satoshi Nakamoto was had released or launched the domain bitcoin.org. Now, in 2010, there was a flaw in their programming, and they accidentally created 184 billion bitcoins. All of those bitcoins were sent to only 2 addresses. So someone hacked the system, basically, but it was spotted very quickly and quickly erased. And this has been the only flaw that Bitcoin has had in its existence.
That makes Bitcoin a very interesting and fairly secure system because it relies on other people's ledgers in order to keep it transparent, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the only problem is keeping track of all those Bitcoins. Have you heard about the story of Stephen Thomas?
I don't think I've heard this one.
So this individual, this is an unfortunate soul, he bought Bitcoin back when it was $2
Per Bitcoin.
per Bitcoin. So his investment in 2011, what would you guess is worth today?
How much did he invest?
He
A
invested
few $100s?
a few $100s, maybe up to $1,000 or something.
Maybe a couple million. Who knows?
So his current net worth would be about $250 million.
Billion with a B as in boy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's just one major problem.
He spent it all in Tijuana.
No, that would be a great problem to have, but he did not. He can't access any of it.
What?
He doesn't remember his password.
Oh no.
And he's got 10 tries, and he's already used up several of them.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
There's no reset password?
No, there's no customer support for Bitcoin.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I think he's down to his last couple tries, but can you imagine the psychological stress of knowing that you're worth $250 million and there's no way you can access that money? You physically can have the hard drive in your hands, and as soon as you're able to get that password, you've made it. You're done. You're worth more than some countries.
So what happens to the Bitcoins if he doesn't remember his password?
Well, that's the interesting thing. 20 to 25% approximated of all Bitcoin is just locked up in people's wallets. unable to ever see the light of day.
I think I have an idea for new software. We'll talk about this off air.
Mm-hmm. You didn't hear that from us. We're just a podcast. Well, Bitcoin was not the first cryptocurrency, and it certainly won't be the last, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. The idea that the solving of a virtual puzzle could have value started with eCash, coincidentally.
That sounds like a 90s idea.
Yeah. It was by Cynthia Dwork and Moni Naor in 1992.
Nailed it.
Yep. Then a scam called Hashcash occurred in 1997.
Also 90s, right? Hashcash, eCash, come on.
Ultimately, Bitcoin is based on this concept called a blockchain.
What's a blockchain?
So a blockchain is a distributed ledger that is decentralized. That means that there's not one institution or individual that controls the ledger. So the ledger is copyable and distributable to other individuals in order to check to make sure that the transactions are valid.
Probably very hard to hack, too.
Very hard to hack. Because if you think about like the different nodes in which the distributions take point, and the fact that every block in the blockchain has to be accurate and consistent, it makes it very difficult for someone to hack into that.
It's like a digital tally stick.
Yeah, exactly. So that refers back to the tally stick that we talked about previously. Now, blockchain technology can actually be used for a whole bunch of different technological advances, including healthcare, where your information could be stored on a blockchain and they could be transferred from one medical facility to another.
I would think there's more to money than that.
It's trying to communicate with us.
The beeping appears to be a message.
Let's try to decipher this code.
It's taking all the ship's processing power to figure this one out. We'll need a more powerful computer.
I got it. Coffee machine.
Now is not the time for caffeination.
The coffee machine in the break room. It's a smart coffee appliance. It's got a computer system that rivals that of any mainframe in the lesser solar system.
Well, that's very unsettling.
It can make a really nice chai latte. Great. No one's here.
All the creamer is gone. Way to stick it to the company.
There's an adapter around here somewhere. Found it. Have you got the serendibite?
Right here. We should have that message deciphered quickly. All right. The message reads, Part 1 complete. Please locate the companion serendibite for Part 2. There are companion serendibites? This is wild.
How are we going to find where the companion serendibite is located?
There appear to be coordinates. That's weird.
What's weird?
The coordinates are a space station just a few light years out, specifically an antique store called
Scruff Stuff.
Let's head out.
Sounds like a plan.
What are you doing?
I put in an order for a chai latte. It'll only take a minute. And that's our show. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, we exist within the universe.
And the universe exists within ourselves. We're all the stuff of stars.
So have a stellar day, everyone, and thanks for stopping by our corner of the cosmos. This has been the MidFlight Crisis podcast. You can support important spaceship repairs and maintenance by subscribing to the MidFlight Crisis Patreon page. We'd love to hear your suggestions about the show and future topics, and we appreciate your support, ratings, and reviews. This endeavor isn't possible without amazing listeners like you. Thanks for sharing your space and time with us. We'll see you on the next adventure.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a line at intrepidtransfer@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.